Isang maganda at mapagpalang araw po sa inyong lahat. Welcome po sa isa na namang episode ng online series ni Inang Pamantasan na kung saan ang pagkatuto ay walang hangganan. Ito ang PNU Talks, Teaching Advocacy for Lifetime Knowledge and Skills. Ako nga pala si Humphrey V Agcaoili at ako ang inyong learning from home body sa episode na The Art or Adventurous, Rewarding and Triumphant Teaching Endeavour. Pagkatapos bunuin ang 4 na taong pagpapakadalubhasa sa larangan ng pagtuturo, iba-iba ang tatahaking landas ng bawat isa. Subalit, nais kong ibahagi ang aking mga natutunan sa aking malawak na karanasan at umaasa ako na ito ay maging hamon at inspirasyon sa mga bagong guro, maging ang mga mag-aaral, at higit sa lahat, ang mga kabataang nagnanais na maging catalyst for change and of hope by bringing a difference in the lives of the youth, leading them to a better, brighter tomorrow. Nahahati ang aking paksa sa 3 bahagi na may tigta-3 bahagi din. Natuwa ako noong nakita ko ang panyaya dahil nagawa ko na ang aking balangkas bago ko yun mabasa. At tumugma ang talks na acronym din pala, hindi ko alam noong una, katulad ng aking art. Tungo sa mapangahas, punong-puno ng gantimpala at matagumpay na pagsusumikap bilang isang mabuting guro. To have an adventurous teaching endeavor requires your availability to become adept. That simply means being proficient or an expert at something. And that would usher you to become an advocate of something greater. And for me, my advocacy is quality education. The process is remarkably rewarding because I became more resourceful, resilient, and razor-sharp educator that I am now. While T stands for triumphant, let me just note that even the smallest victories go along with trials, testings, and tear-jerking trails. However, those things simply make our accomplishments sweeter and fulfilling, isn't it? Triumphant teaching track can easily be achieved when you allow yourself to be timelessly teachable and be willing to be trained to develop top-notch talents. So let me begin my adventure with my first job as a biology teacher at Casa del Niño Montessori and Science High School. After my interview with the owner, she asked a very important question. Are you willing to go to Laguna? At siyempre, oo kaagad ang sagot ko. Fresh grad at magtrabaho, hindi po ba? Making myself available for CASA helped me become more adept at lesson planning, teaching, and preparing cutting-edge instructional materials. Bakit hindi mangyayari yon? When you begin at CASA, you would know that you have to prepare yourself well on a daily basis. Dahil there will be someone coming in and sit into your class to observe how you teach. At kung maswerte ka, we're talking about one person, 3 sila. Yung may-ari ng school, ang guidance counselor at ang coordinator. And that happened to me once. The amazing Mrs. Asherto came to my class, and then the guidance counselor, and then my coordinator. And I like that because that fashioned me to be the effective and efficient teacher that I have become. Imagine yourself being always ready. Like every minute of your life as a teacher, you are ready. Whatever it takes, you have backup plans so that if something happens, you can still sail on smoothly. I was really amazing, and I am eternally grateful. Being adept at communication skills is another thing that I have learned. Mayroong substantial training programs ang school bago sumalang sa klase. Because the students come from well-off families, so many of them are extremely brilliant, I would say. They would outwardly correct my pronunciation, even my grammar at that time. And I appreciated that. It helped me grow professionally. May mga naging teacher nga kami nung araw na nako-correct ng mga klase namin mga genius. And I feel like they took it against the class dahil ang bababa ng mga binigay na grade sa amin. O siguro akin lang. Well, I could be wrong. But teachers, we are not God. We do make mistakes. Let us not take it against the learners when they correct us. Let us accept the fact that we aren't perfect and we don't have to take it too personal when our mistakes are being noticed. Nag-aaral ang mga bata at nakikita nila kung ano yung tama at mali. So, be grateful na naturuan natin sila na ma-distinguish ang tama at mali. And that naturuan din natin sila na i-correct yung mga mali nila, or even when they correct us, at least may natutunan tayo from our mistakes. Pero kung lagi-lagi na lang na nagkakamali, sa araw-araw ng ginawa ng Diyos, kumusta naman ang ating professional integrity and credibility? That is a different story. That is why I admonish every teacher and aspiring teachers to be that. Then, when I passed the very last set of the Philippine Board Examination for Teachers, or PBET, in 1996, I made myself available for public service. The government schools taught me valuable lessons as the rubber met the rough road, they say. So from fully ventilated spacious classrooms with only 40 to 45 students to standard-sized classrooms, but jam-packed with 60 to 65 students. And ventilations were poor or worse, none at all. The uncomfortable learning environment made me become more flexible, more accepting, and later it became a great avenue for me to be adept at relating to students, especially when I decided to be available to be a saklang teacher. Do you know what a saklang teacher is? Probably only teachers from Bachelor National High School would know this one. I will tell you. In the metropolis, there are too many students and space is quite limited. Even classrooms are sometimes limited, not all though. But in the school where I was teaching, they have to split the groups into morning sessions who would be attending 6 a.m. to 12 noon, and we have the afternoon shift who would attend from 12 to 6 in the evening. So at the beginning, I started teaching biology for second-year high school students who would be attending classes in the afternoon. And then due to the desire for career advancement, I joined the pack enrolling in the master's degree. So I took Master of Arts in Teaching Physics. Noong nalaman ng aking boss na kumukuha ako ng master's degree at physics ang kinuha kong subject, tinanong niya ako kung gusto kong magturo ng 2 loads ng physics. So that will be 2 loads in the morning. At ikikip ko yung 2 loads ko ng biology in the afternoon. So mayroon akong classes sa morning at meron akong classes sa afternoon. Kaya ang tawag saklang. Okay. So I liked the arrangement because even if I am a morning person, I always wake up really early in the morning. I'm the early bird who would always catch the worm. I like this, like it's quite like a normal setup for me because I do not need to wake up really very early if I have to enjoy a second sleep if I wanted to. Kasi yung 2 morning ko, it should be like closer to the afternoon session. So wala akong masyadong maagang period. And then I don't have late classes as well, like late afternoon or towards the early evening. So life was like normal for me, and I like that because I have the luxury of time to prepare for both lessons. And I became adept at delivering contents of both physical and life science. Being proficient in both worlds, who wouldn't want that? And here comes the big break. After a year, my boss asked me to focus only in physics. So, noong nalaman ng isa naming kasamahan na nagpa-part-time math instructor sa STI College Guadalupe in Makati, he recommended me to apply. And I thank God I got the part-time job as a physics instructor. But seriously, STI, wala naman kaming computer literacy subject noong nasa university kami, and even the first years in my teaching career, we didn't have computers to uh, use and to learn from. But I told myself, I will teach physics anyway and not computer lessons. My availability transformed me to be adept at computer skills. So dulang magsunog ako ng kilay 4 times a week para turuan ko ang aking sarili. This is self-taught na maging bihasa sa paggamit ng computer after my class. Well, STI paid instructors at that time with a good salary, and most likely even up to these days. So it's worth every hour I extended just to learn. After 2 semesters, my panibagong offers, and that's one from STI and the other from Sky Cable Foundation Incorporated ng ABS-CBN. Siyempre, doon ako sa pag-artista, pero hindi naman artista ang kailangan nila kundi writer. So, sa pagsusulat ako napunta, I made myself available from late afternoon until late evening, which made me adept at writing teaching guides and lesson plans, because I would have to write something about the educational video that Sky Foundation would air on TV that time, and to write a lesson plan that matches with the minimum and desired learning competencies set by the Department of Education. Now, here comes the rewarding journey. I developed allergic rhinitis, and the doctor recommended that I should consider changing my work environment as a public teacher, or change my work, as the workplace conditions would make things even worse. O baka sabihin niyo, akala ko ba rewards ang sasabihin mo? But wait, there's more. The Sky Cable Foundation Incorporated transformed into Knowledge Channel Foundation Incorporated. And recognizing my adeptness, they offered me a probationary position to be a school specialist and coordinator. I was available at that time because the indefinite leave I filed was granted. Then I started working with KCFI, which gave me the perks to travel a lot. Isn't it great to have that reward to travel to the amazing places in the Philippines for free? You're working, you get paid. The engagement with the channel put all these faculties together na akala ko adept na ako. Pero ang dami ko palang hindi pa nalalaman. The integration of technology in teaching, the more advanced computer skills, dealing and relating with teachers, department heads, principals when I conduct school visits. Tapos yung ibang dinadalo ko may mga attitude, nagpapapedicure habang nagkaklase and all that. Nagkaklase sa nag-yosi sa klase. You know, isolated cases like those that I have seen in the field. Then supervisors, superintendents, and the Department of Education Central Office. Dahil dapat dadaan sa lahat ng channels ang communication para sa mga trainings, TV donations, and for cable connections or satellite installations. At ito ang masaya. Kung area mo ang teachers training program na gagawin, you have to prepare everything. I mean everything. From letters, budget proposals, materials, booking air tickets if you need to fly, or bus reservations if you travel by land. So naging bihasa ako sa event planning, management, coordination, logistics, and all. Not knowing that this is just a stepping stone for greater rewards that are coming my way. A job offer to work overseas was placed on my lap, with a compensation that was more than 4 times higher than what I was offered in the country. But that was just an icing on the cake. There were more precious rewards, like I became more resourceful due to the fact that it was an extremely big learning curve for me to shift from 4th-year high school students to 4-year-old kids. That's the career path that I have taken, and that the kids come from different nationalities. Children's Learning Center of Beijing had me and continue to nurture me to be even more resourceful than the Chinese people. The 3 Rs were so maximized with me. I would reuse, recycle, thus reducing costly overhead expenditures. So, minahal ako na may-ari ng school kasi hindi magastos yung paraan ng magtuturo ko. I pushed myself to do heaps of personal research on how little children learn. One thing that I also did is that I read a lot of magazines because in Beijing, they are for free. And I would collect week after week and dig into them. Yung pagbababad ko sa research na sinamahan ng pagiging resourcefulness or pagiging resourceful, ay hinubog ako to become razor sharp. Stephen Covey penned it beautifully in his book as one of the 7 habits of highly effective people. Sharpen the saw. And when you are razor sharp already, by theory and by practice, then you will be resilient. Hindi ka matitinag. Tatalbog na lang yung mga ibinabato sa iyo, maski putik pa yan. Trust me. There was a British mom na sabi natin mataas ang ilong, quite racist. At tinanong niya ako, "Are you George's teacher?" I said, "Yes." "Why did you ask?" "Are you Asian?" "You are correct," I replied. After that conversation, she never spoke with me again. She wouldn't even bother to greet me back kapag binabati ko siya tuwing nagkakasalubong kami sa compound. Hindi titingin, as if I never existed. Nevertheless, I didn't take it against her or to her daughter until one day she dropped off her girl who hurriedly ran to me and never waved goodbye to her mother. When she came to pick her up in the afternoon, Georgia didn't want to go home and she was crying. I let her play and approached the mother and asked, "Do you have something in your fridge or cupboard that she likes so much?" She nodded and said yes without looking at me. "Can you give that to her as a treat when you get back home?" I continued. She agreed. So I went to Georgia and told her that mom was something for her waiting at home. She immediately put the toys away that she was playing with, gave me a tight hug, and went home happily with her mom, who smiled at me as she waved goodbye. And we lived happily ever after. You know what? Resilience is repaying rudeness, ill treatment, or even evil with good deeds, and you shall be rewarded. So how do we thrive and triumph in a tough teaching job? The tricky process trained and taught me to be tough but tender-hearted at the same time. When you are given a notorious class to handle, then you have to brace yourself to be tough. On the other hand, know when to show tender, loving care to them. With the full knowledge that 75% of our high school students in Manila, I tried to stretch myself into the extremes, and that's when I gained their respect. And the branded notorious section, are you ready for this? Section 27. That section turned into a responsible group somehow. They considered me as their advisor apart from their real advisor, as I never sent them to the guidance office, nor called their parents. We just talked heart to heart and tried to settle things with them when they get topsy-turvy. Kapag ayaw maglinis sa classroom, tataktakan ko yan ng basura nila sa loob ng kwarto. That's how extreme I was. But they were fully aware that being tough with them is a sign that I truly cared about them. You know, I was teaching physics, but I had to do basic English as they couldn't process English problems to translate it into mathematical statements. Then I have to teach basic math as they were unable to multiply and divide big numbers, especially decimal numbers. However, their low proficiency or academic capability increased my teaching ability and proficiency. Then I shifted career from high school to preschool. The toddlers and their parents taught me the same lesson to be tough, yet tender. Little children are crafty, you know. They would try to twist your arm if you would allow them to get what they want. They will trick you and manipulate you if you are not tough. You've got to set the parameters, the barriers, the borderlines, the boundaries. The more diverse the learners I handle, the more teachable I become. And I learned so much more from the way students learn. Take note, teachers and parents, because you're teaching at home now. We must teach students in the way they should learn and not the way we want them to learn. I have to reiterate that one. We must teach students in the way they should learn and not the way we want them to learn. There was one time in my class that I was teaching TPR song, Total Physical Response. We call it an action song in the Philippines, every single cell. And I instructed them to let their fingers scroll down their body as they sing. But James, a 5-year-old boy in my class, started to march forward while doing it. So it's like, oh, I pick up the idea and added variation. And it was phenomenal, like moving forward and backward to the right and to the left. And wow, it was awesome. They were so happy doing that. And even the other teachers, they loved it. Another instance at a different school, I was doing an echo chant with the alphabet with the boys, and one of them echoed back on top of his lungs, doing the head bang gesture. It was yet another ping light bulb moment for me. We did the alphabet rock every now and then, which sounded like this. I learned to play the guitar, so for somehow. Because when you do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, it's quite boring, like doing that every single day. So when I said like, we were just like playing with the letters and say A, B, C, D, like A, B, C, D, there was like a tone in the echo of the voice. So we did like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and they would echo A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you go on until you reach G, and then we do, let's do the alphabet rock, rock, rock. Let's do the alphabet rock, 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 rock all day, rock all night. We rock all day when the sun is bright. You know, you could be more dynamic when you try to observe, listen to what they say and watch what they do, and you arrest that. So my Chinese counterpart suggested that we would do it during the graduation ceremony, which we did, with jaws dropped after the performance. I was floored by their reaction and the awesome appreciation from the crowd, really. One avenue towards a triumphal teaching journey is to be someone who is timelessly teachable. And this leads me to the last item in my bucket list. A triumphant teaching endeavor is achieved when we pursue to learn top-notch talents. Lumaki ako sa isang tahanan na may gitara at karamihan sa aking mga kapatid ay mahuhusay tumugtog, pero hindi ako natuto. Doon ako natuto sa mga maliliit na bata. At kapag Pilipino ka, may tatak na kung saan, you know, the stereotyping of Filipinos, na kung saan marunong kang kumanta kasi Pilipino ka, or marunong kang sumayaw kasi Pilipino ka, or you could do both. You know, it's like they look at Filipinos that way. Kaya naman, parati ako yung gumagawa ng mga teachers' presentations, and take notes, presentations. Hindi isa kundi tatlo. Every Christmas, they will ask me to organize a performance, a singing performance, dance, and a short play. And imagine doing this like every year. So naubos na ako ng idea at times. Apart from that, they would always require me to do English shows. And during graduation, there should be an English play by the kids. And because they know that I paint, they would ask me to do the backdrop. And we're looking into like big, enormous backdrops that would fit the stage, the whole stage. So ginagapang ko yan. Minsan walang paint, so I would use oil pastels to do that. Imagine how tough that would be. And I painted many enormous backdrops like Pinocchio, The Jungle Book, Christmas Carol, and others. Esteemed teachers, We should show and use our talents to let others shine, especially the students. I feel grand to have the fulfillment of being the wind beneath the wings of the learners so they could soar higher. You know, you don't have to be like really expert at the different talents, but we could learn. Sinasabi nila na all dogs can't learn new tricks, but no, that's only for dogs. For us, we could always learn. So may mga birthday parties, and then I have the ukulele. So sometimes it's hard to bring the guitar, and it could break kapag natabig ng mga bata. So I would also play the ukulele when we sing the birthday song for birthday parties, and said, "Oh, you also play ukulele?" I said, "Well, only the birthday song." And you know, kapag mabunga ka, pinupukol. Yun ang katotohanan. Minsan kapag maabilidad ka, may mga taong hindi masaya. And they will try to do anything. They try all ways and means to pull you down at dito papasok yung resilience. There was this American-born Indian-descent colleague, an extremely proud fellow, rude pa. Every time he comes to the teacher's lounge, he would greet me, "Hello, my favorite Filipino bastard friend." And he would ask, "Do you do the extra effort in your class or the English shows dahil mas mababa ang sweldo mo ninyong mga Asians kaysa kami mga Americans?" Ang sabi ko, well, not exactly. And know that I am not a bastard. And if you want that word, put it in your name and don't use it for me. Well, I am doing my job, and I do it because I have the talent to do it. Then one day, the accountant carelessly left my payslip sa desk ko, and nakita yon ni Kano. So hindi niya matanggap, mas mataas pala ang sweldo ko kaysa sa kanya. Simula noon, naputol yung matabil niyang bilang. As I come to a close, I realized that speaking different languages is also an advantageous talent that will give you the upper hand. Nagitipadak nga Ilocano, ijay balasyo tao, kaya di da matarusa, di da maawatan, lagi ito mga lablabidek na duma. Sa Pateros, inampon I mean, sa kagawaran ng Pilipino dahil malalim daw ako managalog. In China, I was the one doing the ESL program and not the English native speakers. There was one Caucasian colleague who was so upset that I was receiving more salary than her and was mad why the owner would always discuss matters with me. So yi wo gao su ta, 为什么不我们的老板给你一个小时学中文免费，可是呢你不要去，他不会说英文，有时他还我商量呢，因为我说中文懂中文。Don't worry, I will translate that. Sabi ko sa kanya, bakit hindi? Binigyan ka ni Amo ng isang oras na sa isang linggo na mag-aral ng Chinese ng libre, pero ayaw mong pumunta kasi sabi mo mahirap. Hindi siya marunong mag-English, kaya ako ang ginakausap niya about the school matters. At dahil I can speak Chinese, I can understand what she's saying. Well, wherever we are, gawin natin ang alam nating maganda at tama. Pero meron at merong pa rin hindi masaya. But no matter what happens, when we hold the keys to unlock our own art, adventurous, renewing, and triumphant teaching endeavor, we'll soar higher. Fellow teachers and future teachers, parents, always remember this. Let us not become weary in doing good, for in the proper time, we will reap the harvest if we do not give up. Salamat Inang Pamantasan sa isang pambihirang pagkakataon na ibinigay ninyo sa akin upang maibahagi ang aking natutunan sa aking karanasan bilang isang guro. Isang pagpupugay po sa lahat ng aking mga naging guro na naging bahagi ng aking tagumpay. Above all else, I carefully bring back the glory and honor to the Almighty, for every good and perfect gift comes from Him alone. Mabuhay tayong lahat. Maaaring i-comment ang inyong mga katanungan at kuro-kuro tungkol sa ating episode ngayong araw. At huwag kalilimutang i-like, i-share ang episode natin. Sa muli, ako Si Humphrey V Agcaoili at sumainyo ang PNU Talks. Goodbye.